I'm Debbie. My daughter contracted lead poisoning at the age of 2. We purchased a new home, and it was a foreclosed home that had some water damage from the roof leaking, so we hired a contractor to come in and do the work to repair it. So we asked the contractor, knowing that we had a small child coming into the home, to just treat it as if it had lead in the home. He said that he would, and they apparently were running the central heat and air unit at the same time. So as they were scraping the ceilings and the walls, that all fell straight into the floor vents and circulated through the whole house, and the dust was definitely lead. At that point, my daughter was about 14 months old. And then by the time she was 18 months old, she developed an eye flutter. She began twitching and jerking, and it progressed to eyes rolling in the back of her head, and she started with one of her arms would twitch out occasionally, and then it would progress to where she would just stare blankly. Was that she had brain lesions, and in the first MRI, her brain was still bleeding. We spent months trying to find out what caused it. Still had no idea that it was our home. About November, we found out a friend of a friend who was a pediatrician in Southern California suggested that we do a hair analysis and check for heavy metals. And so we did that, and her lead level on that test should have been less than 0.5, and hers was 9.79. Her clinical diagnosis was toxic encephalopathy. She's going to spend the rest of her life dealing with this and all of the complications from it. And it wasn't until we found out that it was the metals that we had our home tested. The first test we did was $500 just for just a general lead test. And then a few months later, when we needed to know exactly everything that was contaminated and where it was and how bad it was, we hired an industrial hygienist, and that was about $3,500 if I could do anything to reverse.
So through this project and this hope is that we'll be able to test homes, find if there's a damage and if there's a contamination, have enough money in this grant to be able to repair 36 homes.